difficulty getting a good night's sleep.
It is a great pleasure to welcome to Larry King Live Dale Cochran, the widow of the famed attorney, the late Johnny Cochran. Also with us is Dr. Keith Black, one of the major figures in neurosurgery in this country. He's chairman of the Department of Neurosurgery, director of the Maxine Dunitz Neurosurgical Institute at Cedars-Sinai, and he was Johnny Cochran's doctor. Later we'll get into a major discussion about cell phones, and we'll include our own Dr. Sanjay Gupta. Johnny died March 29th, 2005 of a brain tumor. This is Dale's first interview. Since then, what indication did he give you that something was wrong?
Initially, there was a loss of memory. He asked his secretary to call me and get me on the phone because he just couldn't remember the phone number to the house. And
did he dismiss that or get concerned?
I got concerned right away that he couldn't remember my telephone number, and we immediately went to see a doctor in the next day or two.
Is that memory loss a major cause of concern, Dr. Black?
Larry, memory loss can be a cause of concern. I mean, any function that the brain is responsible for can be a symptom of a brain tumor.
So you should check it out?
So
any symptom?
Any symptom related to memory, speech, vision, movement. Headaches.
People at CNN who saw a lot of him said he was on that phone a lot. Is that true?
Yes, he was on the phone a lot.
All right, Dr. Black, what do you make of the possibility?
Well, Larry, I think if we look at the evidence that we have now, it's difficult to say that cell phones have a direct link to brain cancer, but it's also difficult to say that they're safe. There have been studies that have come down on both sides of the issue. If you look at some of the studies that have been performed, I mean, one of the studies that is very concerning has been a study out of Europe that looked at a long-term exposure to the use of cell phones over a period of 10 years. And when patients or people were exposed to over 2,000 hours of cell phone use, which is about an hour a day for 10 years, that study reported about a 3.7-fold increase in the risk of developing brain cancer.
What do you read, Dr. Gupta?
Well, you know, it's interesting because you look at all the studies out there, and most people will say, look, I mean, they're fine. A lot of scientists will say that. But, you know, I've read all these studies, Larry. I mean, I've spent the last year sort of really reading this, and there's 16 really good studies out there, a few since 2000. Most of them, if you really dissect it down, they really only follow the patients along for just a few years. And, you know, people use their cell phones for years and years, and kids start using them. They're going to use them their whole lifetime. Also, some of the studies say regular cell phone use is using it one time a week for 6 months. I mean, who uses a cell phone that little nowadays? So my point is this, that, you know, if you read the studies alone, they'll say they're safe. But if you start to say, well, look, wait a second, how about if it's 10 years? How about it's 20, 30, 40 years?
We don't know yet.
We don't know. And if you use your phone all the time, like you know, people in the news business, they have a cell phone to the ear all the time. Is that really safe?
And I think particularly among young people who are logging, you know, thousands of hours of teenagers and even younger, and they will be using cell phones for 20 or 30 years. We do not have enough data now to say that, you know, that is a safe device.
Dr. Gupta, Dr. Black says it's possible. Do you say it's possible?
Yeah, I do. And you know, when I was researching for the book that you and I talked about, I looked into all of this. I started researching it and really understanding it. And I think when I had kids, I became even more interested in it, frankly. And I think it's possible.
How many times have you been told that cell phones are not bad for your health? Probably a lot. But hold on a second. There's a new study out this week that challenges that notion. Researchers at the Weizmann Institute of Science in Israel have found evidence cell phone radiation does react with your brain cells, and that could lead to cancer. Now, here to help us sort all this out, all the facts and the fiction, is Dr. Lee Vinokur. Thanks, Doctor, for coming in.
Absolutely.
So we heard for a long time that cell phones are not dangerous. This study in Israel says they may be. How do you know what to believe?
Well, I think the older studies, what they saw was heat damage, that it caused a lot of thermal injury. And this is the first study where they show some biologic effect that's not related to heat. And what they did is they decreased the dosage by 1/10, so heat wasn't a factor. But the effect they saw was the start of an enzyme chain that sort of leads to cell division and cell growth. but I still think there's a long way to go between normal cell growth and the abnormal cell growth that you see in cancer.
Do you know if anybody has actually had a brain tumor that's you can definitely tie to a cell phone use?
I don't think that they've ever been able to definitely tie it to a cell phone use, but there have been people that have brain cancers. But I think you just have to be smart about it. If you have a child that you've given a cell phone to, let them use it for emergency reasons only. Don't let them be on it all the time.
Well, what if they're using the hands-free device or the speakerphone?
Well, they haven't really looked at hands-free, but you're still getting a signal close to your head. So that's another place to do it. But I think what they're saying is cancer is not normal cell growth. It's abnormal cell growth. And they haven't seen that. In fact, the researchers said they didn't see cancer-causing effect on it. What they saw is it just promoted some cell growth, and it was very short-term.
Dr. Leeuwenhoek, thanks for joining us.